You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey, it's iWalter again. Good morning, everyone. I actually am starting my show late, so it's not going to be that long. It was an easy night, but it actually still was kind of irritating. It is July 2nd, 2015 on Thursday morning, and it really is Thursday morning this time because it's like going on 4 o'clock, so I'm not too happy. Honestly, I'm going to make this show. I always say, and I never do, but I have to go to bed soon. I work in the afternoons. Anyway, yeah, I hate to say it was not a fun day at work. Even though there wasn't anything to do, that part was fine. I guess I get to the point that you just get tired of complaining about people, but not only just complain about them, but that nobody seems to care, and it just seems like people love to find some source, it be it one person that they need to focus on, and make that their structure of focus. And it seemed like I easily become that in many situations, and especially since I've worked at this job position that I am been at for the last 3 years. Now, I've been at my job for almost over 13 years, but this particular building I work in, it's been the past 3 years, and it's just been a nightmare. Being ostracized. One thing that always comes to mind, I keep on forget to bring up when I get on the show tonight, was just a good focus on that, or good reason to bring it up, was years ago when I was in college. This was like 20 years ago. I started out, I had taken a course in sociology, and my professor one time said, this professor named Dr. Epstein, he was a great man too. He brought up a term in our sociology class, and was called, the way he said it, he broke it down. Somebody said, oh, that's not the right way to say this word. It's like, how do you know? But he broke it down, and it stuck. I don't remember anything, but I always remember this. He was explaining different things in our culture, how things will change. But he used this term, and he said he broke it down to the simplest way of saying it. He said ethno-methodological. And he was like, you know what ethno-methodological means? And he explained it to us. He used an example of like why a man opens the door for a woman, or, that was the example that stuck in my head. There's many other ones. The bottom line behind the word of ethno-methodological, it's a sociology term. It basically means the underlying statement on what people do. In many ways, it's probably similar to being what we used to call, me and a roommate of mine from years ago, we used to call it being passive-aggressive. Well, it doesn't really mean passive-aggressive, because actually passive-aggressive is a term in a psychology book, and that basically means somebody who is basically, if I remember correctly, who acts out aggressively. We used to use that term as, basically in layman's terms, it's a way of just pissing somebody off. And then saying, what are you talking about? And I get that all the time where I work. People that are, like, the way I would use it, passive-aggressively, act passive-aggressively, are passive-aggressive. But that term of ethno-methodological is another one where people do things for a reason. And it's a power trip, basically. And I get that every day. So I come to work today. Surprisingly, I don't know what their underlying cause was, but they did everything the other day. We had nothing to do today. That was fine with me. I have off on Friday from my job. We're the place I work, we're not going to be running fully functional. Well, that's not a good term, but we're not running at full capacity. So we basically have that day off as a holiday, because the holiday this year is on a Saturday. I work Monday through Friday, so my holiday is on Friday, and I always have off the weekends. I think a lot of places that are kind of company plant places will do the same thing. So I go in, we even have these people. I usually don't have a problem with them. They actually are totally useless. I apologize for saying that for the people who do this. But our company decided, well, the lower people's absentee and mental health issues or just physical problems, they hired these people called wellness coaches. And for the most part, it's just a totally useless waste of money for our company. You try to get these people to help you, and they don't want to be bothered with, or they only bother with people of a few and a select. So today, the one we had as our wellness coach, as they call them, which is, again, they're going to go away in the next buyer. We have these things called contracts. Our contract's not up until next year. But that's going to be one thing that's going to be on the chopping block. I'm sure they're going to be gone because they don't really do anything for anyone. You ask them for help, they don't want to be bothered. So it's a waste of money. And I think all this is where I work. It's just a way of a tax write-off for this company and find reasons to completely get rid of I call it a plant site, but our plant site in Lansdale, it's going to be gone probably before next contract, or all the work that's there is going to be contracted out for a much cheaper price, getting people to do the work for pennies on what we get paid compared to what we get paid. So anyway, today this woman came to, it was a woman, she came to our group and she said, oh, we're going to go over about the importance of wearing suntan lotion, everything like that. There was only 4 people on my shifts, four people on my second shift. I work by myself. These other people, they do other jobs, but there was a total of 4. So she handed out these papers that said, okay, you need to read here's some information you could be useful on going out in the sun and how it can be dangerous to your health. So I'm standing next to this guy, and instead of handing me these papers she's handing out, it was just like a 1-page leaflet on the importance of suntan lotion. She hands it to the guy next to me to hand to me. Like, she didn't want to be bothered with me. I was like, okay. That it was just like very childish for one thing. And 2, your job is not going to be there by next year anyway. So I won't have to see you. You won't have to see me. Hey, problem solved. There you go. That got me off on the wrong foot right there. I just don't like ignorant people, and it's just like I am surrounded by total ignorance. And the old saying is, ignorance is bliss, and that place is full of ignorant people, and they are so naive, not realizing that they're just basically their own ignorance is going to put them out of a job. Not me, not people like myself. They're doing it on their very own, and they're just too stupid to realize that. Sorry, that's ice from my what was supposed to be soda in there. It's empty because I'm parched. Anyway. That being said, my father, he worked where I did, and he goes to these things once a month. They're called retirement meetings. They basically, I don't know why they do it. They keep people up to date for the company I work at, what's going on. Well, it was all bad news because another location of the place I work at, they have 2 of them at least 2 that I know of in New Jersey. And with these contracts I just mentioned, whatever they get as a contract, we end up getting exactly the same thing. Not very often, probably actually not at all. We never get anything different. We get exactly the same thing, almost 100% of the time. That being said, there will be major changes. One was, which I didn't understand it completely. I thought it was just something that was one-sided or, was pretty concrete with when Clinton was in office, and it was called the right to work. Well, there was one level of that I did not understand, obviously, and that is if you work for a place there's many places in Lansdale. It's a Democrat state, so don't be surprised. I work for a union, and the right to work will allow non-union people to work at the exact same place you are, and they will not be forced to pay union dues. So that is what another level of the Right to Work Act is. Well, that went through in Lansdale, that's where I work. That went through in New Jersey, and you very well better bet it's going to happen where I work up in Lansdale. They're going to basically eliminate a lot of the jobs, hire people off the street who don't have to or are not forced to be part of this union. And that's already been said to my dad today. It was yesterday when he went to his retirement meeting. It was also mentioned that there's going to be a lot more. We've had them every place you see since Obama's been in office. It's been a large mass amount of layoffs. So there's going to be more of those. That was mentioned to my father. And it is not going to be a pretty sight, but we have these negotiations every 3 years on what's going to change within our contract. Well, the contract that they got from the place I work, which is the other branch of two, is in New Jersey. They got an agreement that said their next contract won't come up for 8 years. So that's a lot to be said there. 8-year contracts now, not 3 years, but 8 years. That's like 3 lifespans of contracts rolled into one that you can't change them. And we get, when our negotiations is, a certain, we agree upon, okay, we're going to get certain raises, a percentage raise every so many years. Well, that's going to last through the life of that contract, whatever we get as an increase, which would be like a 2% increase. And it's only going to be 2% per every, I think, 2 or 3 years, or it'd be at least 3 times. There's going to be 3 times that this increase will take place. So it doesn't look pretty at all. You're going to be stuck, and eventually the people outside where I work are going to be making more money working elsewhere than what I make now. Another thing is, the place I work, they are way too easy on paying people. They easily pay them. If you're in a union, which a lot of the people where I work do this, a person who decides, I don't feel like I need to work as hard as the person next to me, will get the exact same pay. So what is that what is that saying, what I'm just saying now? Well, if I remember correctly, the thing that we're not supposed to be, even as a country, we're not a socialist country, but that plant site that I work is fully the same. The definition where I work is the same definition you would give for socialism. Because what is socialism? Equal amount of pay for unequal amount of work, basically. So that's what socialism's about, that everybody across the board gets exactly the same thing, even if they don't carry their weight. That's the terminology you would use in the same definition for socialism. Excuse me for a minute, I'm going to get something to drink. Actually pour something to drink. So how come that a place that is... By the way, that's soda, so you can hear that little fizzle noise. How come a place that actually is for the people is actually only for themselves? That makes no sense to me at all. And they're very arrogant people. And the thing that really got to me, before I got home tonight, because this is one of the things I wanted to discuss tonight, I also want to read, a friend had posted this on his webpage. He takes these newspaper clippings from his local newspaper. It might be the Mercury. I'm not really sure. It's something like that, and it's basically people venting on how they feel. So he puts these newspaper clippings up. He put 2 up today, and I want to read those. Sorry, I was getting something to drink. Anyway, because they're very alarming too. They're very, but they say exactly how I feel, so that's why I need to read them. But another thing that's been really bothering me is this whole thing about the Confederate flag. I mean, it's gotten so ridiculous. They now stopped. I thought it was just a joke almost, so I looked online. This is going in a different direction. I'm going to kind of wean it back to where I was, I hope, even though I lost my train of thought. But I went out tonight after my job. I get done around 12:30. I went over to this Walmart in Norristown, Trooper. And I had to see it for myself because I looked online, and I even looked closer after I got home. But they said now, with this whole Confederate flag issue, that TV Land, a television station called TV Land, it's basically a branch of Nickelodeon for old TV shows, the Nickelodeon for kids. Anyway, they used to show the Dukes of Hazzard. It still shows that they're going to air the air dates. They're going to put on reruns of the old series of the Dukes of Hazzard. Anyway, they had decided, though, they pulled everything because of the symbolism they have in there with the Confederate flag on the car and everything else. Stores like Walmart and Target have pulled anything that is and Best Buy, because I looked on their website too. You can't find any, because it's all been pulled off the store shelves. They don't sell it. Amazon also, I haven't mentioned it. eBay is making bundles off of it, of any merchandise, including the DVDs of the series of the Dukes of Hazzard. I went into Walmart tonight. There was nothing remotely close to a toy that they may have still have had on their shelves. No tapes, no DVD. Well, there is no tapes, but you know what I mean, probably. Any type of digital format was completely gone with anything remotely close. Even the movies were gone on the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, before this whole shenanigans happened down in the South, you couldn't escape seeing like box sets of the movies that were made recently, the old TV series. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. Everything had Dukes of Hazzard. It was a big time comedy, one I did not like. So Amazon is loosened up a little bit. They're allowing you at least get the, I don't know for how long, the digital copies. You can rent them, and so did iTunes loosen that up. But you're going to pay a hefty fee to do that. And they tease you by, because I hated that show. I never had no wish to watch it until now because of the principle behind it now. But they gave you the free, for the first episode, the pilot of Dukes of Hazzard from the TV series back, I think in 79. They gave it to you for free, which kind of is just a way to get you to watch it. And yeah, you do see the Confederate flag probably a bit. But anyway, that just really pissed me off. Between the ignorant people at my job, I wanted to say ignoramuses. I can't get that out properly at my job, and then just this BS around driving to Walmart and taking up with that stuff. I mean, we really, and I hate to say this, I mentioned this numerous times to another friend. I said, you know what, it's just a matter of time before it truly happens where the South is just going to have enough, which I think will be a good idea, and you're going to have, like we did when I was in high school. When you looked at a map in high school when I was growing up back in the 80s, you looked at a map or a globe of the world, what you would see was USSR, Europe, and like Italy, Africa, and basically England. But the USSR was a big chunk of one continent. There was no countries. It was all USSR. And what I said to a friend, and I've been saying it, I'm going to stick to this because I know this is eventually going to happen. And with the way the government is, the way Hillary Clinton gets away with the stuff she says and does, and what President Barack Obama gets away with, folks, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have North America, you're going to have like Canada, 2 parts of North America, and then South America. But there's going to be a northern, like there's a south and a north, like Ireland kind of is divided. We're going to be divided the same way. And I wouldn't be surprised. And eventually you're going to see where they're going to say, you know what, we still have that capital, that area that was our capital when the South was going to divide from the north part of the United States. We're not going to be the United States. We're going to be 2 states. And the one state are going to be it's going to be the set of states north of where the Civil War had taken place in the South. And I hate to say it, it might be the best thing that would happen if it does. I don't think it'll be a bloodshed war again. I think it'll all be done on paper. I think they're just going to finally, this is just my hunch, they're going to get to the point they're going to say, you know what, we had enough. We're taking over the southern states. We're going to conglomerate into the Confederate Union, and then we're going to have the North. And I hate to say it might be the best thing that would happen if it did, because if the Confederate Union would actually become something again, you very well know that they would definitely take care of this problem, because it would no longer be under the hands of Washington, D.C., but I guarantee you the first thing they would try to do is definitely take control of those borders. You would not see people. I think they would take care of it in their own way, and I hate to say it, it would be like, well, if you decide to come over our wall, don't expect to be breathing once you step foot on the Confederate soil, because I think they would just either shoot them or imprison them right away. And I hate to say it, that would be the quickest that this country doesn't exist anymore would have reacted to something this serious. But that's what's what's going to happen. I know I sound like I'm crazy, which I'm certified. I got the documentation to prove that already. But I'm totally serious. I think that's what's going to end up happening. And I mean, I see what happens, and I've been down the South before. I was in North Carolina, I think. Actually, close to it. I was down the South one time years ago. We dropped my brother off. I actually was in Myrtle Beach, but that's down south. And I had taken vacation down to Georgia, and I tell you, just the atmosphere of the people down there are completely different than the people from the north. And they don't really like Northerners that much, just because, not because they, of what happened, but they just think completely differently. They're not trying to stab you in the back any chance they get. So I wouldn't be surprised that they finally get to the point that they're going to say, you know what, we had enough. Most of the businesses are moving down south anyway. It wouldn't make that much of a difference. Because the issue before this, I read some article. It said, oh, that would never happen. The South and the North would never divide up. They said because all the money that's being made is in the North. That is not true anymore. And the only state which probably we would end up getting stuck with would be California, because that's a mess already anyway. Excuse me, I just had to take a drink again. But that's just my theory. That's my... Rush calls it his theorem, Rush theorem. Well, this is the Walter theorem. Anyway, I went out today, dealt with the shenanigans at Walmart, which was not a very lovely sight. I hate going in there at night because I'm always afraid for my life. And I leave. This is the one in Trooper. So I go out. I cut through an old development where I had a friend/girlfriend from years ago. Her parents were always really had it hard with money. They lost 3 homes. 2 were their own, and 1 was their grandmother's. They lost them to the state, And each time they lost a home, the people who ended up taking them over were basically people probably with, again, as I mentioned on the earlier shows, probably with subsidized housing, basically, in my terms, in the most not very nice way to say it, basically white trash. And or just the lowest common denominator that lives in this area now. Because every time they lost their homes and the government had taken them over, the people that moved in end up trashing the homes that were theirs, formerly their homes. This is an ex-girlfriend / friend and her parents. Or the homes got posted on the housing market that they were put up for sale again. And one of them was a home for their grandmother. She even told me one time when I was still talking to her, I had lost contact with this one ex-girlfriend. She actually said that at one point, the people that they originally allowed to buy their house, like they had to sell it through like basically a sheriff's sale. The people that first moved into the grandmother's house of this ex-girlfriend of mine / friend, they had to get rid of them because they basically were basically not only running the house down, they were also not be able to afford to pay their bills. So the last house, this friend of mine, I'm just going to have to give her name so I don't go back and forth with friend and ex-girlfriend. Her name was Linda. The last house her parents just lost, they basically couldn't afford the home, was right down the street from where I lived, literally right down the road going towards Oaks. That house was taken over, this was just the icing on the cake for me tonight, by groups of people by the looks of it. And when they got thrown out of their house, they got evicted from their house this time, or whatever happened, they couldn't afford to live there anymore. It was a small house. Me and a friend went in there. Actually, it was taken over by the government because there was papers that they were locked out of their house. They were basically they owed back taxes on the home they had in near Oaks, and they had like basically sheriff's paper stuck on the windows. But the house looked like something from a horror movie because it was falling apart. It was definitely not livable for people to live in, but they did. Linda and her parents, I mean, it was really sad that it got that ran down. And I honestly, I don't understand how they could live in such filth. But somebody else from the sheriff's cell had taken it over, and again, it was people worse than the way they were. And there's like at least 6 cars that are in that drive when I drove past tonight. And this is the part that really bothered me. Again, this house went up on a sheriff's sale, so whatever they owed in taxes, what the people bought the home for. One of the cars in the driveway from Linda's house, that used to be her house, her parents' house, was what appeared to be a Jaguar. So, one of the new ones. So now, this is something I mentioned before, folks. I could, if I'm correct, that would definitely be just, you want proof, there you go. People that buy a house off of sheriff's sale, they have no money themselves. They probably are living on subsidized housing off of other people's money, and they're driving a freaking Jaguar? Are you serious? A brand new one, too, by the looks of it. So, because I know they changed the body style of the Jaguar. I know what the new ones look like. And for a while there, Ford had them too. Had the company Jaguar, and you could tell it looked like a Ford. Anyway, that being said, I want to read now from a friend's webpage. I hope he doesn't mind, but I had taken off his webpage these newspaper clippings, and I'm reading them right now. The first one, I need to turn off my speaker. The first one says, this is from a real newspaper, paper that turns yellow after a while. Excuse me. It says, to mind your own business. It's time for you to get real. That's why this world is in such turmoil, because everyone like you looks the other way. Eventually, you're scamming the system, or you wouldn't be speaking. You wouldn't be speaking out. Okay, let me reread that. Eventually, you're scamming the system, or you wouldn't be speaking out. We're all tired of paying irresponsible, lazy people who do nothing but suck the system dry. People who really need help get nothing. I've worked my whole life and had never collected anything that I didn't earn. It's time for someone to speak up. And it's signed disgusted and angry. That was the way they named themselves. So it is not just me who's complaining, so to let people know. This is the way our country's going. It is falling apart. I want to go back to that Dukes of Hazzard thing. That's going to be the theme of my show tonight, by the way. There was another newspaper clipping, too, from the same newspaper. I don't really know the source, and it's probably best if I don't, because I did take it from a friend's webpage, and, you know, it keeps him anonymous, and also where he got the paper, because that kind of gives it away then. Anyway, the other newspaper clipping he had posted says, to the comment in person talking about minding their own business, using the WIC and the access card, this is our business. We are paying for you to use those cards. Who do you think is paying for the money put into those cards? Certainly not you, if you're not working. So we are all minding our business. So, see, these are two people that are extremely pissed off. Why are they paying all this money out, and all they get in return is grief, ridicule, and being demonized, while these other people are living up, driving Jaguars, BMWs, Lexuses, what do you call that? The Hummers. And these are people that have no money, and they live in shacks. And the money they're getting is getting them from our taxes. Why they don't work? They just drive around endlessly all day, you know, feet in their faces, getting free cell phones and living arrangements, and they're not doing anything for what they have. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to read also. There was another shark attack, by the way, in North Carolina. It said it was the 8th one now. But when I was talking about the Dukes of Hazzard, I mean, it's bad enough they pulled it. They pulled all the toy cars. You can't buy any DVD box sets for a reasonable price. So guess what somebody decided to do? They're putting them on eBay. Season 1 of the Dukes of Hazzard, somebody is trying to sell it for over $1,000. So look what this has created now, folks. Now you got people who are scamming Dukes of Hazzard stuff for $1,000 now. Now, originally, because I'm looking now, I did a cut and paste from Walmart's website. When they had it in stock, it was $20 for season 1. It was $30 for the other seasons, but it wasn't anything outrageous. Now people are catching on. Wait a minute. It is a big demand for the Dukes of Hazzard, some show that only a handful that I know would watch. I definitely was not one of them. Now, just because of principle, I do want it, and you can't afford to buy it. So they just increased that show's popularity, by the way. I'm going to go to this story next, just because I'm going to try to wind it down. This was on Media ITE. Vandals spray paint Black Lives Matter on Christopher Columbus's statue. I'm not going to even read that, but yeah, it was on Media ITE if you're interested in read it. Yeah, so they got people vandalizing. There was something I said to a friend, speaking about black people in general, and I don't blame this guy at all, but it was a black gentleman. His daughter was a victim. He was there, though. His daughter was a victim of these gangs of girls who beat the crap out of girls that are helpless and can't defend themselves. So he stepped in and he started giving them a can of whip ass on these young girls. One, which she definitely sounded like she was white, trying to pretend she was black. And she was saying, "You can't do that. You can't do that." I was like, well, I hate to tell you, if that girl was my daughter and I seen you beating the crap out of my daughter, if I had one, I would do the same thing. So I hate to say it, I give kudos to that guy stepping in and sticking up for his family, and including his daughter. You know, I'm sure his daughter definitely has a lot more respect for him for doing that, too. And here's one that was interesting, by the way, on a different story. This was on right-wing news. You won't believe this one. It says, black teacher in Ohio slaps disabled white student saying she doesn't have to serve white people like you. It's an article on the right-wing news. I'm not kidding. Yeah, it was a black teacher in Cincinnati, Ohio. She has resigned after she slapped a handicapped white child and screamed at him that blacks in America fought so they wouldn't have to serve white people like him. It's a freaking disabled, and she actually abused other children that had disabilities, and she's calling the ACE card. I mean, come on. And you wonder why. I mean, these people really are so immature anymore. It's nonstop, and it's not going to stop. And I think that what's going to happen is, again, it's going to be the separation of, the states. It's going to happen. It didn't happen before, but this time I think it will. 200 years after the fact, and you can thank the idiots in our country. Anyway, I said I was going to read this, so I am. Yeah, it was on a different note, myfoxphilly.com. It says, 8th shark attack reported in North Carolina coast. So, you know what? I hate to say this, but maybe they really need to do like in Jaws. They really need to shut down the beaches until they take care of this problem, because it's the same shark. The thing has obviously got a taste for human flesh now, probably, and the only way you're going to stop it is by destroying the damn thing. I'm sorry. Yeah, I never even heard of this, but it says like Okoke Island, Okoke Island, North Carolina. It says WJZY, an 8th shark attack in recent weeks has been reported off the coast of North Carolina. My brother and his families live down. His family and his kids all live down. They're all grown up, his kids. A middle-aged man has been airlifted to Greenville, North Carolina hospital after suffering an apparent shark bite, officials confirmed to Fox 46 News in Charlotte. He suffered bite wounds to his hand, leg, and torso. He was conscious when they placed him in the helicopter. The attack happened shortly after 12 p.m. noon on the beach of Okoke Island and Outer Banks. Again, it says this is the 8th shark attack in the last 3 weeks in North Carolina. 8 shark attacks, and they're not doing anything about it, obviously. The shark attack expert says bigger sharks could be patrolling closer to North Carolina shores because of the influx of the sea turtles during the 2015 nesting season. It's got to be more than that. I don't know what it is. Shut down the fucking beaches. I'm sorry, I just said that. The Star News reports George Burgess, director of the Florida Program for Shark Research at the Florida Museum of Natural History, says sharks are attracted to sea turtles as food, and more sea turtles could mean more and larger sharks closer to the shore. Burgess says sharks like bull sharks and tiger sharks could be attracted to closer to the surf as food sources. Like sea turtles, move on and off the shore for nesting between April and September. Well, it's neither. Well, I don't know, folks. Hyde County is expected to release more information shortly, but they never had 8 shark attacks within such a short period of time, and people are really getting hurt. And I mean, there's people losing limbs, and they're not really doing anything about it, in my opinion. there was one story. I won't go into it. But it was on the Daily Mail. It is actually an important story. I'm just really sorry. 8 victims of the Tunisian beach massacre are returned to Britain. That was on the UK Daily Mail. I just don't want that. That really bothers me because that situation can happen easily in the U.S. the way we're going now. This is another one. I'm not going to go into grave detail, but if you want to read it, it was on foxphilly.com. That was a mouthful. It looks really interesting, though. I feel bad for people. Homeless piano man attracts attention. So there's a video. So why read it when you can actually watch it? It was on, again, it's on myfoxphilly.com. Just look for the thing that says homeless piano man attracts attention. I mean, here's a gifted man, and obviously he is living on the streets. So it just caught my attention. There was one really disturbing story. I have to break it up a little bit. It was a bloody disgusting. I got to put something in there different. It's getting me too depressed. What horror movie characters did you hate to see die? One was actually, because it caught my attention, was Sarah Michelle Gellar. I call her Gellar because I love her. It was in Scream 2. They're only giving the characters' names, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is the only one I know. Second one was Jenna from Friday the 13th, 2009. Lynn, The Hills Have Eyes, 1997 and 2006, so they used the same character again. Helen, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Rachel, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Susan, Deep Blue Sea. That was a really good movie, by the way. Mary, Psycho 2. That was the mother, the real mother that they brought out. They said apparently the mother in Psycho was not his real mother. So, anyway, that was Psycho 2. Nancy, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warrior. Laura, Halloween Resurrection. Ben, The Night of the Living Dead. That's where the black guy gets shot at the very end. That was pretty disturbing, though. And that guy was like the only survivor, and he ends up getting shot in the head. There was like a little bit of speculation, I guess, back and forth. Was that supposed to be racist or not? Because it kind of was bordering that way. Anyway, even though it was shot in upstate Pennsylvania and near Harrisburg, not Harrisburg, but I can't remember. It was upstate my state, Pennsylvania. Anyway, they finally put out. I'm trying to lighten a little bit before I get dark again. It was on Hollywood Reporter. It says Michael Fassbender in Steve Jobs' trailer. The artist lead in Hacks asked for a show of hands. So that's basically in the trailer. You watched it for the new Steve Jobs movie. I thought the one they did was really well done. I don't know why they need to make another Steve Jobs movie. And in fact, I was very impressed. I really liked the movie called Jobs. The Steve Jobs one, don't get me wrong, I'm going to go see that one too, because it does look really good. But I just thought that they could have left to go with what they had. Yeah, there was somebody, it was on Clark's webpage, and it's Happy International Joke Day. That was yesterday, maybe even the day before. I think it was yesterday, though. Yeah, it was yesterday. And they have Dante from the movie of Clerks, and it said 37 over top of it. So it was Happy International Joke Day. Yes, Kevin Smith losing the weight. There was a story on that on Uprocks. He did lose like 80 pounds. He looks great. Anyway, here's the really depressing story. But it was Rapid City. What is SD? I apologize. I don't know what SD stands for. Well, maybe I got to look it up real quick so I don't make a total fool of myself, which it's too late. I already did. So I'm going to look this up. Oh, South Dakota. Oh, I have a friend who's going to be going to South Dakota. So he should enjoy this one. I'm being sarcastic. No, he doesn't want to hear about this stuff. I'm not trying to be mean. I understand what he means. It gets old after a while. Anyway, Rapid City, South Dakota, police have charged a 26-year-old, well, wow, what a funny name, Christopher Huchin with the rape and murder of a 6-month-old Linnea Love White. He raped and murdered a 6-month-old child, an infant. Can you believe that? Linnea was brought to the hospital Friday morning, suffering from a blunt force trauma and... Okay, so that's a little kid's name. Blunt force trauma and a brain bleed. The poor kid. Huchin, a friend of the girl's mother who was babysitting the girl that morning, said that the girl was injured after falling off a couch. Medical staff have determined that the girl's injuries were more consistent with shaken baby syndrome. So, yeah, the baby was shaken also. The couch also didn't explain how the baby ended up raped. You're talking a 6-month-old, folks. When the police interviewed Huchin, he admitted that he had shaken the girl several times. After speaking with him and the medical staff, police took Huchin into custody on charges of first-degree rape and child abuse. After the autopsy, so the child, yes, is dead, results ruled the death of Linnea a homicide. Police would also charge Huchin with second-degree murder. Excuse me. On Tuesday morning, a judge agreed with the prosecutors and that Huchin should remain behind bars before his court date and set his cash-only bond at $5 million. Huchin reportedly cried like a baby during his initial appearance in the court, mumbling that "I'm sorry" at the conclusion of, I'm sorry, there's something of this hearing because there was something on top of that word. So there you go. A freaking guy rapes and murders a 6-month-old child. I'm sure that child was really asking for that too. Anyway, I got to really lighten this up. There's something on Me TV, something much, much lighter, trust me. And I don't know if you ever watched the show MASH, the one the guy would dress up like a woman. It says happy 81st birthday to MASH actor Jamie Farr. Jamie Farr was the guy who would dress like a woman so he could pretend to go AWOL. So, yeah, here's that story I was telling you. Oh, no, that was a different story. Sorry. I thought that guy was defending his daughter. They're making a big deal out of. Anyway, another lighter story. I can't go back to these really bad stories because there is another one where it is catching my eye, though. Mom catches Eric Apsher molesting children, beats him with pool stick. I'm not going to even bother reading that one. There's just too many stories about child abuse and sexual abuse with these people. Maybe this is the same one, just different from a different source. No, actually, it's a different name, but this time it's a 6-year-old girl involved. But anyway, if you want to read it, it's on the Dreamin' Demon. It says mom catches Eric Asper molesting children, beats him with pool stick. Well, at least she beats the crap out of the guy, though. But it sounds like he was attacking a 6-year-old girl. So I don't know what's going on with our country. Obviously, nobody actually uses their ego or their super ego. They just are pure id anymore. Anyway, yeah, I was going to leave it with this one. It was Ash versus Evil Dead. Still, first images reveals Ash, his chainsaw, and his new sidekicks. And he's working at that Say Smart, I guess, again in the storyline. Unfortunately, I don't have that channel, so it's going to really suck. Because I think it's on one of these cable channels. Oh, Stars. Yeah, I definitely don't have Stars. I'd like to get it for that, though. Yeah, but they got official still. I'm surprised he's still doing it. More power to him. The dude's like when he first started that, he was only in his like early 20s probably, and now he's up there in age. You know, I was going to say Sam Raimi, but it's what do you call it? Who plays Ash now? Anyway, it's not that important, folks. I just wanted to end on a lighter note. Yeah, it says you can read lengthy interviews with Sam Raimi, Robert Tapert, and Bruce Campbell. That's what it was. Bruce Campbell's the main character. Anyway, yeah, that's on bloodydisgusting.com. So other than that, folks, that's enough. It's getting late. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully, once again, even though the stories were very negative, hopefully you find them mildly amusing, somewhat entertaining. I don't know. Hopefully you do. I am signing off for this Thursday morning. I have off Friday, so have a good morning.